Well, I'm just glad they brought us out to Monte Carlo to do this and not at home in the UK, because the weather there is dreadful. It's not suitable for this sort of thing. The further up the hill we went, the worse the weather got. Rain and at the lunch stop, major snow. Things were fairly treacherous with a light foot on the pedal required to stop the back end from sliding out, but I suppose that's all part of the fun on a rally like this. Things were faring a little better back in the square though. Perhaps one of the most famous cars of the 1950s was the 300 SLR with start number 722, driven to victory in the Mille Miglia by Stirling Moss in 1955. The car covered the 1,600-kilometre course in just 10 hours, 7 minutes and 48 seconds at an average speed of 157.65 kilometres an hour, a record which amazingly remains unsurpassed to this day. However, by the end of 1955, Mercedes withdrew completely from motorsport, partly due to an accident at Le Mans, where a Mercedes catapulted into the crowds and killed several spectators. Although Mercedes-Benz had withdrawn from motorsport, their cars were still entered in rallies by private teams, and very successfully too. It wasn't until 1984 that Mercedes-Benz became actively involved in motorsport again, mainly in touring cars. There are a couple of nice examples here today of the 190e 2.3 16 DTM, built in 1988. Nicknamed the Baby Benz, it competed in virtually all heats of the German Rally Championship very successfully. A year later, the 190e 2.5 was developed. In touring car races, the car often emerged as the winner against tough competition from Audi, BMW and Opel. In 1991, the company clinched the manufacturer's title and the driver's runners-up title, while a year later they did even better, winning both titles. Anyway, back to my rally. If you'd been lucky enough to be wafting around the hills over Monte Carlo in the 60s, you might well have done it at the wheel of something like this. It's from 1965 and it's beautiful. It may be over 35 years old, but even today, it's a beautiful drive. It wafts along. Plenty of low-down power for that creamy, smooth, straight six up front. And up front, of course, that magnificent three-pointed star sweeping across the vista in front of you. This is a classic car that actually you really could live with. You'll pay a lot of money for a drop top like this, but a hardtop one, even in the UK, can be yours really for just a few grand. Worth thinking about. Well, they've saved the quickest to last. First up is the CLK LM. The car, launched in 1998, surprisingly reached pole position in qualifying for the 24-hour race in Le Mans. Unfortunately, during the race it was hampered by technical difficulties. It did, however, finish either second or third during the 8 races which counted towards the FIA GT Championship. Next up in the famous silver livery is the year 2000 450 horsepower Mercedes CLK DTM. Bert Schneider secured the German championship virtually unchallenged with 221 points. Finally, there's this. Almost 40 years after its withdrawal from Formula One, Mercedes-Benz returned as an engine partner of Sauber. In 1994, Sauber departed, and McLaren and Mercedes became new partners in Formula One. The partnership has been very successful. 2 drivers' championships for 98 and 99, and a constructors' title in 98. Last year, Hammond came close again, only to be pipped by Ferrari. It's quite fitting to see both the oldest and newest Mercedes parading here together. Meanwhile, back to my rally. Unfortunately, we got stuck in traffic, but thankfully the weather improved sufficiently for all of the cars to finish without any mishaps. So we all arrived back safe and in one piece. I didn't qualify for any of the prizes though, not one. Well, we may have had quite the pace on our little jaunt into the hills that we saw from the guys playing in the centre of town, but the experience has taught me one thing, and that's to have a little bit of respect for these old buses, because they might be old and dainty and graceful, but they can still hack it out on the road. Thank you.